Welcome in to Shootin' the Shield. This is just my life.
Hey, man.
This week.
You know, I hate to say it, but you look kind of good.
No. No. The Cowboys. You failed me for so many reasons. This not even being the number one.
Right.
That being said, I'm Jacob Wilson. This is the winner of last week's bet, Tanner Carlson.
And I didn't want to win. I would love to be swap spaces with you right now and put the headgear on. That's just not the way the cards fell. And I just knew. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's in Lambeau. There's so many instances in which Aaron Rodgers has completely demoralized me as a Cowboys fan. And it just happened again on Sunday. I mean, it just happened again. It just wasn't anything else that at no point, even with the 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, I literally texted my buddy. I said, dude, we're not winning this game. Like, it's not happening. I just knew it.
The Cowboys, I believe they were 192-0, went up by 14 in the fourth quarter. And so it is kind of, prophetic for it to end like this. And for this show to begin with this on my head. It's funny, my mom, she's been watching me do various things for 365 Sports this fall, and sometimes I'll wear a hat because I'm just a hat guy.
Yeah.
And she says, Jake, why do you wear these hats? You have such a nice head of hair. Mom, I'm sorry. I can't show off my beautiful head.
No, sorry. Nope. You got to wear the hat today. Sorry.
What do you think about this week's game going against the Vikings?
This week's game against the Vikings, speaking of the Vikings, talk about game of the year. I mean, Buffalo, Minnesota, I don't know if we're going to be able to surpass that all season long this year, but it really was the game of the 2022 season up to this point, and I think Minnesota winning that game has solidified them as a legit, they're elite, they're legit, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. Did a couple things go their way? Yes, a couple things went their way, and should they have even been in a position to win that game? If all things go according to plan and the way things are supposed to be, probably not. But guess what? They won the game. They took it to overtime. They took advantage of all their fortunate bounces. And now they're tied with the best record in football. And Dallas is coming off of a kind of bad loss to Green Bay. And it doesn't make Cowboys fans any more confident going into next week.
It is still Kirk Cousins, and the Cowboys have had a lot of success against him, whether it's been with Washington or now in his time with the Vikings. Cooper Rush beat him last year.
Right.
And so I wouldn't be too overly concerned. We don't know if Zeke is going to be back this week for the Cowboys, but frankly, we don't know if they're going to need him back. And so I like the prospects this week going forward for the Cowboys. I think they can get things right. It is on the road, which makes me a little bit skeptical, especially because the Vikings have been great this year. Justin Jefferson broke out his inner Odell Beckham Jr. in that Buffalo game.
Is he the best wide receiver in football right now?
Right now that Cooper Kupp is on IR, I think he is.
Yeah. I mean, it's really between him or the guy who was playing opposite of him this week is Stephon Diggs. I mean, it's those two guys watching those plays and those both one-handed grabs. I mean, absolutely just highlight reels after highlight reels between those two guys going at it. I mean, it was such a great game. There was a little bit of snow involved. It was nasty weather. It was in Buffalo with Bills Mafia. I mean, I just think everything that happened in that afternoon game was the best that we're going to see this year, hopefully, until we get into the playoffs. Yeah,
last week we talked a little bit about, playoff picture, midseason, where we think everyone's going to end up. Right now, for today, I want to talk midseason awards. And let's jump into it here. We've got MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and then two categories that we are going to make up on our very own, Dog of the Year and Diva of the Year. Emery, anybody not on this board, Emery Winter producing, by the way, anybody not on this board that you can see here that you want to throw your hand in the mix for any of these?
Off the top of my head, what's there looks pretty good. But I'll make sure to think about it, and I'll let y'all know.
Yeah, let me know, because I want to hear from you. All right. For MVP, I know you didn't tell me who you had for what, and so I'm very curious to find out.
For my MVP, we'll start off with the big award, and it's the leading passer, and it would be his second MVP award of his very young, illustrious career. Patrick Mahomes, leading the NFL in almost every passing category, yards per game, touchdowns. Only has, I think, 7 interceptions on the season. He's playing at a very prolific rate. I think a lot of people thought that maybe his production would take a downturn because of the weapons that he's lost over the years, whether that be Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, whomever. I think he's the type of quarterback, he's the Peyton Mannings, he's the Tom Brady's, that it doesn't matter who he's throwing to, he elevates everybody else's play. And on a very serious note, he's the best player in football right now.
Yeah, he is pretty good. But you know who I think will ultimately have the MVP? Not you. I think it's Josh Allen. I know this is kind of a straw poll pick here, but he's been incredible for this Buffalo Bills team this year. He gets it done with his legs. He gets it done through the air. He's a little bit banged up right now, and I think that's indicative of how well he played against the Vikings.
Yeah.
But he's still fantastic. I think he's going to get it together. They've kind of hit a snag, losing to the Jets and then losing to the Vikings. But I think Sean McDermott and Josh Allen will find a way to get this team rallied and take control back of the AFC East.
And coming off of that loss to the Jets 2 weeks ago and then losing to the Minnesota Vikings, they didn't play bad against Minnesota. I mean, they played a really good game. Do you think interceptions is going to slow them down? Do you think he's overly aggressive? Because 2 interceptions, both in scoring position, both on their side of the field where they could have came away with some points. Does that need to be reined in a little bit?
Of course. I mean, turnovers will kill you. But look, I think that he started off really, really hot, and then the team kind of hit of a snag. But I think that they're going to rally and make this thing happen. Who do you have for Offensive Player of the Year, which is really kind of like a runner-up for MVP traditionally?
It is, right? I mean, and it goes to the non-quarterback offensive player is essentially what it goes to.
Yeah.
So it goes to your MVP who's not a quarterback. And this man right here, not him, not that man.
Him.
This man right here, Tyreek Hill, used to playing opposite or with Patrick Mahomes, and now what he has done for that Miami Dolphins offense and what he and Jalen Waddle have been able to do with Tua as their quarterback, I'm still not a believer in Tua. I don't think Tua is elevating the play.
The Dolphins have not lost a game that he has started and finished.
And I think it's because a lot to do with this guy right here. Tyreek Hill is a very similar product to what Cooper Kupp did for the Los Angeles Rams a season ago. No one can defend this guy. He is the best wide receiver on the field whenever he's playing. And I really, really like what he's done this year. And I think his style has really fit within the new scheme in Miami. And it really helps him that he's got a guy like Jalen Waddle opposite of him to just essentially the same skill set, just not Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. You know who we just mentioned earlier that we said, is this guy the best receiver in the game right now? I think it's Justin Jefferson.
There you go.
We just talked about him, and he did his Odell Beckham Jr. impression, like I mentioned before, just snagging a ball.
I think better than, by the way, because that catch was contested with...
It was much more contested.
And it had 2 hands on the defender. The defender had 2 hands on the ball, and this dude snagged it one-handed.
Yeah, if I was a glutton for punishment, I would have made a meme today of Justin Jefferson catching that ball, and instead of a ball, it was a Cowboys win. But he's been incredible. I think the Vikings are significantly worse off without him than the Dolphins are without Tyreek Hill.
That's a good argument. It's a good argument.
I know that is saying a lot because Tyreek Hill has brought this team in Miami so much success, but Justin Jefferson, I think he's more essential to the Vikings right now.
And I will say, in terms of statistically, Tyreek Hill is leading the NFL in basically every receiving category, whether that be receptions, yards, and I believe he's top 5 in touchdowns.
Stat nerd.
Yeah, I'm a dork like that. All right, Defensive Player of the Year. I'm glad you take the lead on this one.
Well, I mean, Myles Garrett is who I'm going to put up here. But even though your guy, who I know you're going to do, is running away with it, but Myles Garrett, similar argument that Justin Jefferson has. Without Myles Garrett, this Cleveland Browns defense does not have a lot of power. And so, I mean, this is a guy that whacked a guy in the head with his own helmet a couple of years ago, which if that had been this year, he might have been in the running for one of these other 2 awards.
That's true.
But he is kind of the consensus second in the favored odds of winning Defensive Player of the Year. And so I'm going with Myles Garrett simply because I know you basically beat me to who I was going to pick.
Yeah, and we can have 2 of the same picks for Defensive Player of the Year, but it is Micah Parsons' award currently to lose right now. I think he is by far, hands down, the best defender in the NFL, and I think he is also the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. I mean, he's in conversations of being the MVP of this year, and so go ahead.
I believe his odds of winning Defensive Player of the Year are plus 100. Myles Garrett is in second place with plus either 1,000 or 1,500.
Right, so it's
the margin is very, very wide.
And right now, Michael Parsons didn't really do a whole lot against Green Bay, right? Because I think he's kind of dealing with a little bit of a hip injury. I was actually talking with some friends of mine, thinking, do you sit Micah? Can you afford to bench Micah, let him kind of heal up? If I was going to do that, I would have done it against Green Bay, coming off the bye, give him an extra week to kind of rest up. He's been dealing with a little bit of a hip injury. He's got a shoulder issue, but his level of play is still top notch.
His presence is just incredible for them.
Yeah.
And as a Cowboys fan, it's really awesome to finally have a guy like that.
All right, so I'm really excited about these. These are 2 awards. If you are an NFL nerd and you're like, wow, I've never heard of Dog or Diva of the Year, these are made-up awards that we have decided to go along with. And my Dog of the Year, he's got that dog in him, Geno Smith. This guy has absolutely faced all adversity. He has been one of the underdog story of the year. Kind of wanted to make that connection.
Okay.
And so yeah, he's my dog of the year because he's my underdog of the year, and the Seattle Seahawks in general, the underdogs of the year. Didn't play well against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Munich, Germany. Early game, weird time zone. I'm going to give them a pass on that because they're going from the west side of the States. And Tampa Bay kind of had a small advantage time zone-wise coming from the east. So I'm going to give them that pass. But yeah, dog of the year right there. Geno Smith has been absolutely incredible, has exceeded all expectations, and really a story that no one is talking about enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think back in 2012, there were probably some very, very depressed Baylor Bear fans out there who called this because he beat Baylor when he was at West Virginia in that 70-63 game. And it took a little while, but now
I didn't know he played basketball.
That pain has been validated. Shut up. All right, my dog of the year is a guy. I saw a very good graphic on Instagram the other day. It was actually probably a week ago, but it was Michael Thomas injured yet again. He hurts his toe. He gets a little boo-boo. He's out for the year again. I don't know if he will ever play for the Saints ever again.
Got a little boo-boo.
But you know who does want to play right now?
Yeah.
A guy who got shot before the season started.
That's a great pick. It's a great pick.
And he got shot and only missed 4 weeks. He scored a touchdown against the Eagles last night.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic story. Like he's only averaging about 3+ yards a carry right now, but how high can your expectations be for a third-round draft pick who got shot?
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. It's hard to argue it because you're right. I mean, the dude was shot, rebounded, came back 4 weeks later or whatever the rehab time was for it, and then he's out on the field and they're playing 50 Cent as he's coming out onto the field. So, Diva of the Year. This is going to be a really fun one, and there's only so many options on here, and I think everybody sees this guy right here, and this is my Diva of the Year. Congratulations, Tom Brady. Another prestigious award in your trophy case. Diva of the Year. As many of MVPs, Super Bowl MVPs, Super Bowl wins that this guy has, I think this one's going to go top shelf right above them all, and it's going to go right next to where his wedding ring used to be. This guy is going to have, he's had one hell of a season, right? I mean, off season, whether it be retiring, coming back from retirement, getting a divorce, throwing tablets left and right like they're just trash, just throwing them all over the place, slamming helmets on the ground, yelling at coaches, yelling at teammates. This guy right here is my Diva of the Year, and it's not really even that close.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to speculate on who he's going to date next? Is he going to go age appropriate, or is he going to be Leonardo DiCaprio?
I think he goes Leo route. I really do. I think he goes Leo route, and I think he picks an actress this time, not necessarily a model.
Well, it's going to be hard to trade up. I'll just say that right now. My diva of the year is my brother with the cheese head on, Sauce Gardner. This guy is probably going to be Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year in the NFL. I just love the way he plays. Without him, this Jets defense is not nearly as good. They've had C.J. Mosley there. They overpaid him to come there, paid the bad team price. And then they draft Sauce Gardner this year, and this defense is winning games for them right now. Unlike this guy right here, a little misdirect. I thought he would be a possible Dog of the Year for other reasons. But Sauce Gardner, he owned the Green Bay Packers in a way that I wish the Cowboys could have. Literally, threw on their trademark headgear and ran around the field. He leads NFL rookies with interceptions. He is a playmaker for this defense, and he has the Jets relevant again.
You're right. Yeah, those are great picks. So let us know who you like, and if you agree, disagree, about our mid-season predictions, and we'll see how many of these actually come true come the end of the season.
Yep. Let's see if they actually put those last two awards in the NFL.
Yeah, that would actually be kind of cool to see.
All right, before we get to our bets and games of the week, let's get to our show recasting. I didn't anticipate this being a weekly thing, but it's been a lot of fun doing it.
And I think it's kind of a fan favorite so far. So we're just gonna roll with it until proven otherwise.
Yeah, maybe for your non-diehard NFL fans, this will bring in another listener.
Yeah.
How are they?
What show are they? What pop culture show are they going to do?
All the cinephiles and the TV fans.
Yeah. And we watch a lot of TV anyway. But yeah, this week we are recasting Breaking Bad. It is probably my favorite show of all time. I think it is number one best show that I've ever watched.
So you were like the guy that was telling everyone when this show was on, everyone, they have to watch this show.
Yes.
I was forced against my will to watch this show.
And rightfully so. Everybody should be forced against their will to watch this show at some point. And then Better Call Saul, the prequel to it, also very good. It's on Netflix. Check it out.
Interesting enough, we're forcing Emery against his will to watch this podcast.
Hey, all right. Do you want to go first? You want me first pick? What are we doing here? And are we going in order? We want to just switch it up, just randomize it?
You go first, and you pick whichever character you want.
All right. I want to randomize it a little bit. And I think where I'm going to start here is I want to start with my guy, Mike Ehrmantraut. Mike Ehrmantraut is the old school guy. He is someone that always reliable, always been around, and he just is perfection of his craft. And his craft is getting the inside dirt, getting what he needs, and if that is through physical means or through sneaky spy means, whatever it is, he's going to get the job done. The unsung hero of the show also. I don't think he gets enough credit as being one of the main characters, one of the more important characters. And every defense this man is on, Calais Campbell is that guy. Every sense of the word. He's the old veteran guy. He's been around forever, has always been good, has always been one of the leaders on whatever defense he's on.
I mean, it helps when you're 6'8", 390.
And he is a strong physical presence. People don't want to mess with the guy. And he is scary as hell.
Yeah, that is a good pick.
Don't let that smile fool you.
Yeah, I couldn't find any menacing pictures of him, but I didn't know who you were going to cast him as anyway. Not a lot of smiles on Breaking Bad, to say the least, anyway. I will start first with Walter White, and it's going to be Andy Reid for me. And for one thing, there is a weight difference, but if you look beyond that, there is an actual physical resemblance there. I think that he is a cold-blooded killer, but you wouldn't know it unless you got below the surface, because I think his time in Philadelphia probably hardened him up, and then he moves out to Kansas City where it's a little more ho-hum, and he can really, really be successful and be the ruthless coach like Walter White was the ruthless meth dealer.
Yeah, Walter White, Heisenberg. All right, I'm going to go with my guy Josh Allen here. I think Josh Allen best represents my guy, Jesse Pinkman. He's the cool pick. He's the young guy. He hasn't quite perfected his craft like a Tom Brady, right? He hasn't quite perfected things like a Peyton Manning. He isn't quite the legend yet, but he is a learning student. He is a young, up-and-coming, promising protege, whether that be making blue meth or that be playing football, whatever it is. Josh Allen's kind of the hot pick. He's kind of the fan favorite. Everybody really likes him right now. I don't know if he says bitch as much as Jesse Pinkman does, but he definitely is kind of the hot commodity in the NFL. But aside from that, aside from all the promising expectations and potential that this could bring out of him, he's also had some really bad luck. He's had some really bad situations and moments in his NFL career very early on. One to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC, not AFC. It was AFC Championship or division. It was divisional round.
Yeah, it was divisional round.
Divisional round, and that was a hell of a game, and he deserved to win that game. 13 seconds left on the clock. His defense doesn't do it for him. And then just last week against Minnesota, the worst luck in the world, botched snap in the end zone. Minnesota recovers. Game goes overtime. They end up losing. So he hasn't had the best luck yet, but he has the most potential of anybody on the cast.
And I think another thing to point out is that, I think Jesse, he was, if you're a lady in Albuquerque, New Mexico, it's like, do you really have a pick of your most handsome guys in the world?
Yeah.
Jesse's probably Albuquerque handsome the way I think Josh Allen is Buffalo handsome.
There you go. That's a perfect analogy.
All right, I'm going to go next, and I'm going to stick with Jesse. And I'm going to go with Randy Gregory because for a lot of the same reasons that you just mentioned, a lot of bad luck. He, enjoyed, smoking the smoke.
Yeah.
And when he actually got to see the field, this is from his time with the Cowboys, but when he actually got to see the field, he was very, very good. And he pulled a scummy move and, went to Denver when he told the Cowboys he was going to come back. And so I think there's a lot of layers to Randy Gregory and his resemblances to Jesse because of the smoke and because of, the brief glimpses of being brilliant.
There. Yeah, I like that. All right, we're going to move on. I am going to recast Hank. And Hank, the DEA agent, is going to be my rat right here. And what's his name again? Mike Pereira. Mike Pereira. I drafted him and I don't even know his name because I can't stand this guy. And I like Hank. I like Hank as the character. I want that said on record. I like Hank. He's a good character to have. But he's also a rat. He's the DEA agent. He's the guy that we go to all the rules for. He is a rule follower. He doesn't break the rules. Sometimes he's wrong. Sometimes he's not always right. I don't even think he knows the rule book as well as he thinks he does. And Hank was kind of stuck in this no man's land of, at some point in that show, and if you haven't seen it by now, I'm not spoiling much of anything for you, but there comes a point in the show, where does Hank lean? Is he going to protect his brother-in-law? Is he going to uphold the law? And Mike Pereira, he kind of has that same vibe.
You said the word rat. I think what you were looking for is narc.
Narc.
Which is what Emery's classmates would call me if I ever walked into a classroom at Baylor.
Narc is a much better word than rat.
Yeah. But I'm going to go, we haven't touched on arguably the best character who got his own spinoff.
Yep.
But Saul Goodman. I'm going to go with Gardner Minshew.
All right, I got to hear this.
I know Minshew Mania has kind of died off.
Oh, no.
But doesn't this guy just look like he has the same exact amount of charisma as Saul Goodman?
Okay.
He looks like he knows how to help you change your identity and move across state lines completely undetected. I think it's actually a compliment for me to actually say Gardner Minshew as Saul Goodman. And another thing, he has changed his appearance enough times and in such dramatic and awesome ways. I wanted to use a current photo because all of his mullet photos are from his time in Jacksonville.
Right.
But he has had so many different looks, and that is another skill that Saul has managed to master in trying to elude law enforcement. And I think Gardner Minshew, he would make a great Better Call Saul.
I like that. I'm going to stick with the same character, and I'm going to go with our boy, Roger Goodell, all right? He is the rule creator, if you will, but also he has a little bit of a sketchy past, a little sketchy present, a little sketchy future maybe. I don't know if everyone thinks that he is exactly consistent with his punishments or his rulings. I don't know if people necessarily think that he is fair and just, and I think a lot of people feel like there's a lot of things done behind the scenes that we don't get to see every day, but guess what? The job gets done, and the ratings go up every year, and the NFL just keeps making more money, so the NFL owners are going to keep this guy intact, and Walter White is what kept this man going all that time, no matter how sketchy, no matter how things were going, and he kind of protect his favorite guys, right? Saul was always protecting Walter White. Roger Goodell's always protecting Tom Brady, no matter how much cheating or how much conniving.
Is he really protecting Tom Brady?
I think there is something there that is like, look, guys, we know you've cheated, but you're also the best player.
Patriots fans, go ahead and rip this guy a new one.
I feel so bad for Patriots fans winning 6 Super Bowls in the last 10 years. I feel so terrible for them.
Should I go ahead and drag Tom Brady over for you then?
Let's do it. Yeah. So that is my Walter White right there. Tom Brady, that will finish out my recasting. Tom Brady he's the old wily vet. He's the best at his craft. He's the best to ever do it. Walter White was the best meth creator and ended up being one of the best meth dealers in the region of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Tom Brady's the GOAT. Walter White's the GOAT. It just makes sense.
It's a big week for Tom Brady, being a glorified meth dealer and dog of the year.
Diva
of the year.
Of the year.
Excuse me. All right, moving on. My final 2 recastings. For Mike McCarthy, I think he's Hank, because just look at him. Doesn't that look like the same look on Mike McCarthy's face when Hank found out that Walter White was Heisenberg?
There you go.
Both likable, both have their moments where they do their job well, but not all the time. And so there's a little bit of a physical resemblance. That's another reason I went there. But he's just kind of always got that look on his face where he's like, yeah, I'm confident, but I don't really know what's going on right now.
That might be, I think that's the best comparison we've had of anybody. Of any of our recasts that we've had, I think that is a very good comparison, and for the reasons why you pointed it out. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
And then James Harrison is Mike, because
it's a great pick.
He was a mercenary in the NFL. I mean, if you're a Steelers fan, you probably love him because he had his best years with the Steelers. But he played for the Patriots and the Bengals, and he was just an absolute warrior. If he wasn't on your team, you probably freaking hated the guy because he was borderline dirty, but he was a soldier, He was ready to go to battle every single week. And I couldn't think of a current player that was anything like James Harrison, and so that's why I linked him to Mike.
I really like this recast. I like your team a lot. I think you did a really good job. How many times have you watched Breaking Bad throughout?
I've watched it once all the way through, and it was great.
Yeah,
it was great.
I have watched it 5 times all the way through. I can't get enough of it. I love it.
But when someone tells you, and I probably started watching it during the last season.
Okay.
And so I had heard for 4 years prior, that's the greatest show ever. It's going to ruin all other shows for you. Mm-hmm. I'm more of a Sopranos guy myself.
Well.
Which is a candidate.
It's a candidate for future recastings. But Vince Gilligan, to make you respect it a little bit more, Vince Gilligan based this entire show off of The Sopranos.
Oh, very well.
So he's a huge fan of The Sopranos, and he made a lot of similarities between a lot of these characters. And if you kind of go back and look at it, you can kind of see who's who.
All right, Tone. Let's get on with it here.
The Gabagool.
The Gabagool. Let's go to our games of the week. We're going to load up covers.com really quickly. All right. Pull you out a highlighter.
Yeah. And these games are going to be, these games are kind of tough this week. I didn't really see any that I really just absolutely loved. There's a couple of them that stand out to me. And I want to start with the Chicago-Atlanta game. The fact that Atlanta is favored in this game is kind of shocking just because of how well Chicago has played. And they're going up against one of the worst-ranked defenses in the entire NFL. That's the Atlanta Falcons. The Chicago Bears have scored, I want to say, 30 or more points in 4 or 5 straight games, and they've lost all of them. First time in NFL history that's ever happened. I think they get a win. I think they win outright. I'm taking and doubling down on the Chicago Bears. I like the fact that the Atlanta Falcons are favored in this ball game. I'm going to take Chicago outright, take the money line, and I think you can cash in on a pretty decent amount right there.
All right, I like it. I'm going to go one game over right here, even though historically this is probably not a great pick. The Jets' defense has been really, really good this year. They're 3.5-point dogs as of right now. That's up from when it opened at -4. But look, this Jets team keeps finding ways to win. Offensively, it's not always pretty, but defensively, they're stopping people. And I don't think that this Patriots defense or this Patriots offense has the weapons needed to get past the Jets. This is a Jets team that beat Buffalo a few weeks ago.
That's true.
I like this money line. You can hammer me all you want because there's a really good chance that the Jets lose because losing to the Patriots is just one of the things that they do. That being said, I like their defense enough to take the Jets money line this week.
Belichick does have their number, but you're right. Jets also coming off of a bye. I love teams coming off of byes. So let's scroll up a little bit here. And let's actually stop it at Carolina and Baltimore. I just think huge spreads like this. You got right now, it's opening at 13 in favor of Baltimore. Live right now, it's 12.5. No matter what, with a spread that big, you take Carolina. The NFL is not. The NFL doesn't like large spreads. They're close games. I mean, the average margin of victory, I think, throughout the average season, I want to say is like 3 or 4 points. Take Carolina. Just be comfortable with it. The over-under, I don't know if I'd touch it because you just don't know what's going to happen. Baltimore is notorious for giving up fourth-quarter leads. Not saying Baltimore's going to lose this game. I'm just saying I think it's going to be much closer than 12.5 points. I'll take Carolina all day with that.
Yeah. And one that I find very intriguing because of how large the spread is this Philadelphia and Indianapolis game.
Were you impressed with Jeff Saturday's win?
How could you not be impressed? He won.
And everybody kind of talked.
Did you see Joe Thomas on NFL Network before the game in Germany? Ooh, he ripped into Jim Irsay and the Colts organization.
Really?
Yeah, just saying it was disrespectful to anyone who's worked hard to become a coach in the NFL, given that he has no experience. He said something along the lines of it's not okay to hire your drinking buddy to be the head coach of your NFL team. And then Jeff Saturday goes out and shows them who's boss. They've got Matt Ryan back under center. I think they might have found new life. I know Jonathan Taylor is getting healthy again.
Yep.
I don't necessarily think that Indianapolis wins this game, but I don't think they lose it by 6.5.
No, that's a large spread. A touchdown victory is a very large spread in the NFL. And I know a lot of people kind of get it confused with college compared to the NFL. Yeah, a 7-point spread in college, maybe a little iffy, maybe not as large of a spread. But in the NFL, a 7-point, a touchdown spread is a very, very big spread to try to cover. So let's go ahead and let's talk Dallas. Let's go ahead and just drop down there. This is a big game. That's a tough spread to hit. 1.5 right now is where Minnesota is at. I am actually going to hammer Minnesota in this game. I think Minnesota wins this outright. I think they win by at least 4 points. I would go ahead and put that spread in if you are. And look at this. Look at this right here. 8-1 with the spread this year. Or that's their actual record. Excuse me. Against the spread, they're 4-4, but I think it's a pretty safe bet at home. Minnesota is very comfortable in the dome setting. Not to say that Dallas is not. I just think Minnesota is rolling on all cylinders right now, and I would take that spread. I'd also increase it if you can, maybe to about 3.5.
Trying to get me to wear a Viking helmet next week?
No, I will place no bets against my Cowboys for the remainder of this season. Just to let you know.
Fair enough. I'm looking here, and I hate to look at the.
By the way, sorry, is this game in Mexico City? I want to say it's in Mexico.
I believe so.
Is that right?
It's the Monday night game, neutral, but I mean, even it has to be in Mexico because hardly anybody's ever an 8-point dog at home.
Yeah.
But even still, Colt McCoy looked serviceable last week if he's being rolled out there for the Cardinals again. If not, they've got Kyler Murray, who can make a lot of great things happen. I I don't like that spread. Like there are a lot of big spreads this week that I'm really not a fan of.
Right.
Vegas might know something that all the rest of us don't.
And they typically do.
But at the same time, the Niners, Jimmy Garoppolo, I saw the stat that he's 10-2 in games where he doesn't throw a touchdown pass, which it's indicative of how good the rest of the team is.
It's the fact that he's gone 12 games in his career without throwing a touchdown pass. Not only just winning 10 of those 12 games, but the fact that he's gone 12 games without throwing a touchdown pass.
But even still, I think that this Cardinals offense has enough to either win the game or cover that 8-point spread.
I like it. Those are our games of the week. Let us know what you think. Chime in. Be interactive with us.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I think it's going to be a rough week for the Cowboys. I really do. I don't like this matchup. I had a bad feeling, very similar. They do a very good job of bouncing back. And Dak Prescott has always been a guy that he very rarely loses 2 games in a row in his career. He's very good about adjusting and making those changes as needed. This coaching staff is not a coaching staff that is just going to allow this team to roll. I think that the Dallas Cowboys are perfectly fine. I'm not hitting the panic button. You're like, oh, Tanner picked them to lose 2 weeks in a row. I think they can lose 2 weeks in a row. We just saw the Buffalo Bills do it against the Jets and then again against this Minnesota Vikings team. I just think Minnesota is one of the best teams. They're one of the hottest teams right now. I'm not saying they're going to make a run to a Super Bowl, but they're just one of the best teams currently right now in the NFL. It really makes me nervous. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention last week, not only did I call the Packers game, I also called the Washington Commanders, giving the business to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm just saying, I'm a football wizard. What say you? What's your take for this week?
I think I kind of hate you.
Yeah, that's okay. You can. A lot of people don't like me.
If you're going to be a football wizard, why not use your powers for good?
Oh, because I just know how things are going to work. I had a double loss this week. I'm a Longhorn fan too, so I went double down on the heartbreak and then the crazy fans and just the bad football that had to be watched all week.
Since I'm bad at predicting things, I predict that our producer Emery Winter is going to kiss a girl sometime this weekend.
Wow, look at you, ladies man.
I got a big wedding this weekend, so.
Hey, are you in the wedding?
No.
Oh, you got to get with one of the bridesmaids, dude. That was the easiest option out there. Yeah.
Fair enough. I have no final thoughts.
Okay.
We're going to get out of here. For Tanner Carlson, I'm Jacob Wilson. That's Emery Winter. This has been Shootin' the Shield, powered by NFL on 365 Sports.
And take that freaking hat off.